If you start a business, you're really good at sales or you're really good at production. And usually marketing is something that a lot of us feels like a big thing, a big hurdle, but it is also so necessary. Slowing down and deciding what you want your marketing mix to be. It's going to be some form of digital marketing, but then also tapping on possibly local marketing sources or even participating at local events, like however you want to position yourself in your community. Marketing moves fast. It can change so quickly, but you kind of having a plan so that when you're in the thick of it and you can see your results up against the plan and be able to really be analytical. And so if you're not tapped into where the money's going, what the results are, it can be disorganized and chaotic. And then you might make decisions that are maybe made in haste or not based off of the right data.
All right, everyone, welcome to the show, Painting Business Pro podcast. I have a special guest with me today, Sydney St. John, the marketing director at Foothills Painting. Where do I begin? Sydney's been with us for 7 years. She has seen the growth of Foothills, obviously, and been a huge part of the growth at Foothills for those 7 years. And she started off as a salesperson at Foothills, then she crushed it at that. And so she asked if she could office manager. We said, yes, of course. And then she moved quickly up to head of office management at Foothills. Last year, I said, hey, Sydney, I need some real support and someone to take over marketing for me at Foothills. And she was like, great. Where do I how can I take this over? And I mean, within the first, we'll let you get into the story, Sid, but within the first few months, she just took it by storm. Her and I worked alongside very closely together. And now in 2025, she's running the whole show, with very little input from me. So massive growth. Really happy to have you on, Sydney. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks so much for letting me join you. I am so excited to be here.
So Sid, before we get started on, marketing, I think mainly that's what we're going to dive into today is just strategies and best practices for creating a great marketing mix. Before we do that, I think the listeners would love to hear a little behind the scenes of what it's been like to work, just what it's been like to work so closely with Eric, for the last 7 years now. What's that been like?
Oh man, I just love the evolution of us all working together and really growing up together. Eric was, I think, still pre-baby, had just gotten married when I joined the team in 2018. The thing I've always loved about Eric is his just vivaciousness, his tenacity. When you talk to Eric, his energy that he exudes and his passion just has always been so amazing. Sometimes a little bit you're like, whoa, this guy, he's just incredible. You have a quick conversation and it turns into a 45-minute conversation with him. And so, not a ton of dirt, just so excited. It's always exciting to work with him. He just really pumps you up with his vision. And it's been very, very incredible just to see his transformation over the years, and just personally through self-development, and then also just his commitment to everyone succeeding and all of the companies succeeding and growing, and just putting in the work and taking the action even when things were slow or uncertain. Getting us through COVID just beautifully, was just looking back, it was such an inspirational time. And and really just seeing his vision, him taking a stand for it, and now it really coming to life is just incredible. So yeah, it's hard to say bad things about Eric. He's just an incredible human.
Yeah.
And he's fun. He still just gets me so pumped. I sometimes after a sprint or a training video that we're on, I always just text him and we're like, that was so amazing. So yeah, he's more just someone who a visionary man who I love just working so closely with.
Yeah, he's quite the visionary. And it's funny, we've known him pre-kids, like you said, and now 3 kids.
Now 3 kids.
And he hasn't changed at all. If anything, he's gotten more ambitious and more dialed in. He's gotten a lot better with his time management.
Yes.
He's had to, but there's been no slowing down with him.
No, not at all. And I just am, as a mom myself of toddlers, I just am always impressed how he, makes everything happen and how he hasn't stopped. So, yeah.
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 Yeah, love it. All right, cool. All right, great. So shifting into marketing, we're going to primarily this whole episode we're going to just chat marketing since that's your expertise now, and you've done a great job with it. So I want to really give the listeners and also just hear myself, what's working, what's working, what's not working, what has worked, what hasn't worked with in the marketing realm. But just for everybody else, just tell everybody quick kind of your story of how you became marketing director of a $7 million painting
Hmm.
company.
Yeah, so I guess the start of marketing was before I started, hopped into it. I have been in our office management position for years and built that team out in that structure. And what, basically one department set down from marketing. And so I've always managed our lead platforms, kind of understood, the leads coming in, what we need, truly like from a scheduling perspective of setting up qualified estimates for our estimators, just really understanding like and seeing, the necessity of certain of good platforms performing well, other ones that don't perform well, speed to lead, making sure that you are getting in touch with your incoming leads as quickly as possible, qualifying them for, setting up a great estimate. And then also just how the whole system, marketing, scheduling, sales, production is just such a full circle, because a huge driver of our marketing is our referral rate, our review rate, having a wonderful and like happy customers. Literally, that is a huge, huge essential piece of our marketing mix, is just happy clients who either refer us out or repeat clients who come back to us and getting reviews on Google. And so the whole thing is so like intrinsically built together. So being in that position for a long time and seeing when marketing is working really well and when it's not, and the different actions that were taken. And then before I became marketing director, I stepped into doing all of our organic content creation and posting on all of our platforms, and something that I had never done. I've never tweeted in my life. I post something on my personal Facebook like once every 6 months. So I'm really not plugged into that. And so that was a really good learning curve to just kind of learn how to play the game of social media, like organic posting and content creation, and learning all the different platforms and how they work, playing in Canva, all of that stuff. And so, Ben, when you did tap me to say, hey, I need you to step up and really start to take on our marketing mix and take on marketing at the director level, I was ready for it. I was comfortable. I had done some research. I Googled what is marketing previously. And then I think because I had my toes wet from the organic social content, and then also just the OM side and learning how to support a business with good leads already, I felt like I was ready to do that. So stepped in and kind of, that higher level, watching from the top down and managing from that view.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. For everyone listening, Sydney, we tell this funny story where when I tapped Sydney and said, "Hey, I need you for marketing," she said, "Okay." And then that night she Googled, "What is marketing?"
Yes. Yes. I'm an
That was
English
your,
lit major, and so I've always, like I
there you
love the
go.
creativity piece of it. I love the social aspect of it. I love that part. But yes, I did Google what is marketing, and Google has a lot of different answers. Some of them are good, But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely fun.
Well, and I think it's a funny story because so Sydney went from Googling what is marketing to now she's leading a Foothills, and we're trending for 9 or 10 million in revenue this year. So I mean, and that's within the last 7 6 7 months. So some serious growth you've had with that. What would you say, just for people listening, whether they're like just starting their business or they're running a $5 million company already, like what's at the source of your success leading the marketing mix of at Foothills Painting?
It's a great question, and I think especially for like small business owners and even people who are larger, usually like if you start a business, you're really good at sales or you're really good at production, and usually marketing is something that a lot of us, it feels like it feels like a big thing, a big hurdle, but it is also so necessary. And so I feel like a lot of people might have to come at marketing of like, okay, well, this isn't exactly what I got into business for, but I need to make this work. And I think the first step is to just dive in and not be too scared, and to slow down and make sure that like you have a healthy marketing mix. You're looking at all aspects of your business, and then also figuring out a source is like everything is marketing. And so aligning your entire team, sales, production, marketing, office, so that everybody is taking action within their department with an eye that they are helping marketing. So from a sales rep, it's develop, having an amazing sales process, and just having a happy client, having a really, really crisp workflow from start to finish, and then that happy customer at the end, getting those client reviews. So Ben, I would say like the source of action is having kind of the full picture, and then also um, figuring out like what's the most important thing. So one thing that I did when I jumped into this was, because I was taking over a marketing mix of a large company. I think we were at 6 million that year. The first thing that I started with was actually just because we had different brand vendors handling different things like Facebook, Google, all of our SEO. The first thing I stepped in and did is actually just creating some documentation and some systems where everything was aligned with brand awareness, and like, what do we want to say to the public? Who are we? What are the things that are most important to us? And then having every single vendor or any action that I took, all of that be in alignment toward, one single image of like how we want to be in the world. And even like, hey, these are our colors, these are our fonts. And so making sure that like everybody was saying the same thing, was one of the first steps that I took with marketing, to just be like kind of a unified voice across like anything we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think one other thing that I've seen you do too is you're a very systemized person. Like you're very maybe system. You're a very organized person as far as, I mean, how many different lead sources do we have at Foothills?
Whew. I mean, I would say we probably have, if you count like all of our brand awareness and just repeat client and that whole thing, probably at least 20.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I was gonna say 20
Yeah.
to 30, I bet.
Yeah. 20 to 30.
So yeah, for everyone listening, I think it's important, and this is what I've seen Sydney do, and I did this too when I was running the marketing department myself. You've got to have everything documented. And when I say document, I mean you got to have everything in one place. If you're not managing all your marketing channels in one place, and you've got like a vendor doing your Facebook and someone else doing your SEO, and then like you're maybe dropping flyers, and maybe you're getting lawn signs up, but there's nothing being documented and tracked, then you don't really know what's working. You won't know how much you're spending. You won't know what to do next, really. So, I mean, I run into a lot of Painting Business Pro members and just painting company, I mean, even business people who like don't know their numbers, and they don't know. They're like, oh yeah, I got to make a document later with all my marketing sources. It's like, no, I would stop the video now and just do that now, and start to get like a table of contents of all the marketing channels you use, and start to just track them, and start to see like what are you spending and what are the results that are coming from those things, and just having it all in one place. I know it's been a critical thing for us because we have 20 plus lead sources, but even if you only are running 3 or 4, start now before you get to our level where it can be a real mess.
Yeah. I think, Ben, that's so critical, is first, yeah, slowing down and deciding what you want your marketing mix to be. Obviously it's going to be some form of digital marketing, but then also, tapping on possibly local marketing sources, or even participating at local events, like however you want to position yourself in your community. But having that community feel, especially for smaller, like making sure that that part of your marketing mix is really in there. And then also, yes, allocating budget, really planning out like what you're willing to spend. Marketing moves fast, it can change so quickly, but you kind of having a plan so that when you're in the thick of it and you can see your results up against the plan and be able to really like be analytical, I think is really, really important, especially from the marketing director position where everything you're kind of watching like every single source play together. And so if you're not tapped into where the money's going, what the results are, it can be like feel really like disorganized and chaotic, and then you might make decisions that are, maybe made in haste or not based off of the right data.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And just for anyone listening, if it's like, well, I'm running my business, like I'm the only one running it, I'm doing production, sales, marketing, office, financial management, totally understand the insanity that it can be to be a single business owner. But Sydney, just to give you some comparison, Sydney is actually a consultant for National Painting Group. She helps out all of our other 10 business owners with hiring, managing, and training. She manages three, soon to be four people herself. Plus, she has two kids she manages.
Yes.
So like totally, don't let the I'm too busy brain pattern get in your way of slowing down and taking time to build what Sydney and I are talking about. Like build your marketing mix, create it. Or if not, like it'll just stunt your growth is all. Like it'll just really stunt the growth of your business.
Yeah, and I
So
think Ben, it's so smart, and also taking the time to really like slow down and kind of in that inquiry of, how do I want to use my marketing dollars? What is important to you? And if you create a good marketing mix, you should never really rely on just like one lead source, because if all of a sudden that source stops or is not performing, we've heard horror stories of like Facebook freezing someone out of their account, and all of a sudden it takes weeks to get back in, and it can derail your business. So, it's important to have your top performing lead sources, but then it's always important to have things in your back pocket where you're like, okay, this isn't working. Can I turn this on? Can I put money in here? And if you don't slow down and have like a clear idea on that mix, again, that might feel like you're making decisions in like an emergency. But for marketing, for me, it's more like you have it doesn't have to be crazy, especially if you're a small business owner. You have your certain sources that are reliable, are good, but then having almost like for better sake, like a lever to turn up and down if you need it, I think is like different sources to turn on and off, I think is really critical.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So actually, to underline one more thing you said, just for everybody, client experience.
Yes.
Like we all want to talk about what's the newest marketing channel that's going to work the best. Like good old fashioned doing a phenomenal job, like having a great experience for your clients, great painters, great finished product. Like that's how you build and scale a business. Number
Oh my
one,
God.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean that's a big thing we focused on at Foothills. 4 years ago, I think it was now, where we just said, hey, our product is good but not great, and we've got to get it to great. And so, that's been a huge, huge thing for us, number one.
Yeah. I mean, it's so good what you said, Ben, because yeah, if you don't have a good product and you don't have a good system and you're not having a good client experience, then that's the first thing that you need to fix, because, having a couple raving fan clients who just want to refer you to everybody, or literally our slogan is your painter for life. And we, have gotten to a point in our business where every single week over week, we have leads coming in organically that are repeat client leads or past client referral leads. And then, really focusing. I mean, one of the big steps, man, is focusing on getting your reviews, because you're going to rank better in SEO. You're going to perform better out there. If you can say in your ads, like, we have a 5-star rating, X amount of reviews. I mean, that is creating trust in your product and your brand that then you can share with your community. So just starting with the basics of like impeccable product, amazing experience for clients. That's number one.
Yeah. Exactly. And one of the biggest mistakes we made is not have that be number one for the first 6, 7 years we were in business. It was more about drive sales, drive marketing. And like you just said, number one. So if you're a new business owner listening to this, or it's your first couple of years and and people aren't like just blown away by their experience with you 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, fix that first. You work on that first before you come up with any awesome Facebook ad campaign, you know?
Totally, 100%. Yes, yeah,
Speaking of Facebook,
yeah.
I know we've had quite a bit of success with that. So just to give people just some tactical, usage. What in the realm of meta ads, if that's something that they're going to start doing or they are doing it, what's been really working for you with Foothills and Meta?
Great question. And then do you want me to speak more to like managing vendors or just like basics of Facebook ads and things that are working?
That's a good. Either way, I guess maybe let's start with if they're managing their campaigns themselves.
Themselves, okay. Yeah.
What's been working with our ads and our
Mhm.
results? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what's been working the best is number one, slowing down and taking time in your calendar to pre-plan. I think is really important. So then when you do go to set up your ads and your campaigns and everything, you have everything ready to go. And it saves a lot of time by slowing down and planning. So, for instance, I kind of create a structure for what I want to be saying every single month for like the whole year. And
You talk
then
about content creation.
content creation, copy, hooks, headlines, because once you start with like the subject of what you want to maybe talk about each month, then the videos and the content that you're actually going to put up there is going to tie into that. So having that structure, number one. Number two is designing a really, really fantastic offer. So that's going to position you in the market, having something interesting to offer. I mean, discounts are usually tied in, but then are there, for instance, like we are partnered with Samplies and we give free paint samples, the large peel and sticks. We order them at the time of the estimate. We're partnered with Sherwin-Williams, and so we can offer certain paint upgrades. And so designing a really good offer is important and having that like clear because you're going to use that in some of the body of your copy or your headline. Then, slowing down in each month, distinguishing and having something different to say. Having that offer, but maybe naming it something different. So for the spring, we've had early access pricing. We've had April exclusive discount. For May, it's going to be spring priority booking. And it's the same discount, it's just named something different. So for people that are scrolling or seeing it, it's kind of the same thing, but in different wrapping paper. And then planning your copy, your hooks, and your headlines, like having taken the time to really write that out. And then designing, like figuring out what content you want. And so a lot of things that have been working for us tactically, taking pictures of, yourself as the owner, that organic faces, they work really well, making sure you're branded. Also getting on site and videoing, like even with your iPhone, taking videos of your painters painting, even the ASMR, like the just no music, just straight video, maybe 30 seconds of one of your amazing painters just spraying siding or something like that works really well. And then also what's been working really well for us is selfie videos. So, literally just have our iPhones, nothing fancy at all, and kind of having that like local, organic, not super, brushed up. It works really well to, at least for us, like we're your local painter, like we're in your community. And so we do kind of like a blend of a few different selfie videos. Number one is just talking to the camera and talking about your discounts or time of year or, just where you're at with your schedule. That's a big one. Another piece that works really well for us is just educational. So, doing like, hey, if you're a homeowner, this is what to look for to assess if you need paint. And so we do little educational videos all the time. And then also just calls out to the community. So, like, if you're volunteering, if you're donating, if you're at one of your local places that you like to have happy hour, just doing those like, hey, I'm in the community call outs work really well as well. And so it's like getting yourself on video, getting your employees on video. A lot of it is like if it's kind of, again, like for brand continuity, if it's different people, but you're all wearing the same gear, you're kind of saying the same thing, it's just building that trust. And it also gives you the ability to maybe make or say like kind of the same thing in 5 different videos, but by a bunch of different people. And then put them out there, and then make sure you put captions on things, because a lot of people don't, they're watching videos that are don't have sound. Another one is try and go, it's hard actually when you start, but like try and make it 45 seconds or less, just real quick. And then that intro, that like first 3 seconds is really, really important to like kind of hook people. And so make sure that like your intros aren't just the same thing every single time. Make sure that you're switching those up and doing something different. And then you're just community call outs. We're in Colorado. I'm always talking about the things about Colorado that everybody loves about living.
Okay, that's a ton of great stuff.
Sorry.
So no, it's great. So for
Yeah,
everyone, I would review and listen to that a few times. What Sydney just gave a bunch of good things you can actionably use. I'll just underline a couple quick things. So three main things I heard. One, pre-plan. Like really pre-plan your content creation and your offer creation. 2 to 3 months prior to it actually going to before you actually film the content. So pre-planning is big. Having a great offer, and what Sydney pointed to is, yeah, we're getting into May. It's April 25th as we're recording this. Getting into May, what are the offers you can, yeah, what can you offer people for scheduling their exterior in May, right? Like pre-summer heat up, like what a pre-summer discount, before it gets hot, book with us and save 10%. It's more about what's going to hook people. Like Sydney said, the discounts can be very similar, if not the same, but what's going to hook people of like, okay, if I book in May and I want to paint in June, yeah, I'm going to call that company because they're giving a discount for that. And then finally, content creation. And yeah, this is the one. So we were, I feel like in some way resistant to this a couple years back, where
so
like
resistant.
nobody wanted to make content. A lot of people still don't want to make content, which I totally get. It's not fun being on camera for most of us, but social media is just a content consuming machine. And I know one thing we've been learning from a lot of different professionals, and shout out to Ryan Stacy with Tridus Marketing. He runs our meta ads, and they're doing a better and better job for us. But Facebook, Instagram, they all want new stuff that is entertaining. You've got to kind of feed the machine, so to speak. And Sydney's done a really good job at Foothills of continuing to make her own content and also have our team make content. I make content for Sydney and her marketing mix to continue to feed the machine, give people new stuff that's entertaining. And so I think that's like probably the most critical thing if you're watching this or listening is create a quick plan. Like if you're not a big planner, just create a quick plan. Like trust me, trust Sydney, it's the way to go. And then start to just make content. Start to make those selfie videos. Start to make the ASMR. Paint pouring into a bucket or guys spraying siding. Like Sydney said, 45 seconds or less is great. Put the captions on because most people watch stuff when they're at work, so they're not going to listen to it with volume. So make sure you have captions if you're talking. And then one other thing you said, Sydney, I'll just underline those first 3 seconds of a video are really everything. So the adage of like some guy said this years ago, but 80 cents of your marketing dollar is spent on the headline. Now that's like, 80 cents of your marketing dollars spent in the first 3 seconds of your video.
Totally.
So if you don't hook them there, they're going to keep scrolling. So yeah, changing that up, testing that a bunch is what we have found that's working really well. Yeah.
And make sure you're branded. It doesn't have to be the video. Yeah, Ben, it's so true. Like the video doesn't have to be like this crisp, crazily beautifully produced thing, but it does need to be branded. And then I think a big thing, something we've been testing out is like if you are saying something, you can have your video, but then you can also like put your video, your voice in the background, and then do like a compilation of some of your, painters painting or pictures or things like that. And so you can really like play around with it. And then one thing for the pre-planning, just to really like hone this, because Ben and I do a lot of our videos, and sometimes it takes something to like get yourself ready to do it. And so one thing that I was finding is if I was like, oh, I'll just do one video, and it just never would happen. So if I plan and have everything I want to say, some different scripts, and then I set aside like 2 to 3 hours, I am a lot, once I'm in the zone of making it and I'm, ready, like my stuff on, little makeup on, and I'm like in the zone, it's actually easier. I've realized and discovered it's easier for me to make like 20 or 30 videos at a time rather than trying to maybe just do one video at a time. And then the planning is like, if you have all of your words down and then your videos set, then when you go and sit down and do your deep work of creating ads and posting them, you have everything at like right there and you're ready to go, versus being like, oh God, okay, I got to go get this, oh, I got to go get that. So just through trial and error, that's like so essential.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good.
And then
Yeah,
one thing real
just,
quick for managing vendors that I just want to
yeah,
say.
I was going to ask you about
Oh,
that.
were you? Okay.
Yes.
So then managing vendors, which is where I really stepped into, because we are a bigger company. Luckily, I run our next door ads myself, but I don't do our Facebook ads or Google SEO. Number one, I would say like don't assume, especially if you're working with a vendor that's not in your state, just never assume that they know your area and your local vibe as well as you do. Always make sure like your territories and exactly where you want them to be posting is written down, and you're constantly reviewing that with them. And then something that I do every month is when I create the copy, hooks, headlines, bodies that I want us to be saying, I release that to them a week before the next month so that they know what I want them to be saying, and then giving them the videos and then making sure you approve the videos. They're fantastic, but they have a lot of other accounts. And so just make sure that like you're still, even if you're using a vendor, at the end of the day, you're still accountable for your marketing. And so just making sure that like they're 100% supported. You guys are having at least bi-weekly meetings, just even a 20-minute check-in, and just really still on top of like what they're producing and what their results are, because you are still, should have your hands in it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, super great. So when it comes to vendor management, again, for everyone listening, if you're not already at the spot in business, you will get to the point where you cannot manage everything in marketing. In fact, it doesn't even matter if you're, no matter how small you are, you can't manage a marketing mix that's actually vast and has everything managed. You can't do it all yourself. And so it's going to be either you hire employees to do that or you hire vendors. Vendors, we've made the mistake before where we hire a vendor and we say, cool, good luck, get us results. And like Sydney's pointing to, hands off and kind of just we assumed that they just knew what to do, and they knew about Colorado. In this case, they knew about our area. And again, what Sydney just said, which is so great to underline, they don't always. They don't know the ins and outs. They don't know the local feels. They don't know the local, jargon of what you call certain regions. Like, Fort Collins, we call NOCO, right? Like Northern Colorado, or FOCO for Fort Collins. They don't know that stuff. We just kind of assume they do. They don't know that Boulder is its own weird little bubble up in the mountains. They don't know a lot of stuff that we know about our local area. And so you've got to tell them that. You got to educate them on that. And I think more importantly with vendors is don't wait and see if they're going to succeed or fail for you. That's your money they're playing with, and so have them be successful. Work with them. Tell them early and often what you like and don't like, whether it's meta ads, SEO and like organic work, next door ads, Google AdWords, whatever it is. Give them feedback early and often and help them succeed. and don't just like wait and see that they fail and then hire another one. You know, um, I think marketing companies get more blame than they deserve, and less. Not to say that they're all great. I'm just saying marketing companies tend to get a lot of the blame and like none of the credit for what works in marketing. And so I think like I don't think you're going to find a marketing firm that you're just like blown away head over heels in love with necessarily. But you can work with one that really becomes customized to like your marketing mix and your market, that, and you can make them better by supporting them, by like helping them.
And that's huge. I just want to underpin that, Ben, of like, especially if you have different marketing companies, like we have a few of them who handle different pieces of it. And so the needs of our marketers who handle our Google and our SEO and Google ads and Google local service ads, they have different needs than our meta ad vendors, or I do Nextdoor, and Nextdoor has different needs. And so number one is like, Ben, you said it's so great. Like at first, you know, we were just heard like, hey, we need selfie videos, we need these. And I'm like, ugh, just don't. And then we're like, okay, you know, me, it's kind of like, it is kind of like acquiescing, like, okay, I trust you and I'm going to give you what you need. And so at the end of every, you know, meeting with them, it's like you're in relationship with each other. It's like, okay, what do you need from me? Or for like ever with our Google people, they were like, hey, we really need these portfolio pages for your website, and they create trust and strength on the back end. And I didn't really connect to like, okay, this is, they really need this from me. And then we're like, okay, cool. And then just an abundance of content. Like in order for your marketing to succeed, and then for your marketing vendors to succeed, just getting content is so important. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and one other thing to add before we move on, I'm listening to this book, 10x is easier than 2x by Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan, and they talk about Mr. Beast, like the YouTube guy,
Yeah.
right? And this is a good thing for me, and I'll share it with you, Sydney, like, and for everyone obviously listening. It's, you know, the whole 10,000 hours rule, it's they debunk that a bit. And Naval Ravikant actually debunks it, where it's not 10,000 hours, it's actually 10,000 iterations.
Mm,
So make an abundance of content, but then pay attention to what is working and
yes.
what is not working, and always strive to make your content better. That doesn't mean like more polished, by the way. Sydney even mentioned that earlier. Some of our best stuff is not videographer professionalized, just good old selfie, authentic, organic. So it's not just, I'm not saying polished, I'm saying make it better, make it more entertaining, more informative, more clear for people. And so you've got to pay attention to that. It's like, yes, make an abundance of content, but don't just keep making the same stuff every day. Make it, post it, see what gets you results, quadruple down on that, and keep making iterations and iterations and iterations off of what's working.
That's so
Um,
huge. So huge.
yeah.
Oh, and then one
I
little
know.
nugget, a huge nugget. Oh my gosh. So very Gary Vaynerchuk. I've just started like trying to learn everything. He's just such an incredibly
Yeah.
inspiring
Love
human.
him.
Oh
Yeah.
God, he's so cool. But one thing he said that we're now like, I'm just like, okay, is if you're doing your Facebook organic and you have a post that gets more impressions than your regular stuff, turn that into an ad. And so it's
Mm.
actually like
Okay.
a free A/B testing thing that you can do against yourself. And so that's one thing that like we're putting into place immediately. Like one thing we discovered that was working really well on our Facebook was just, yeah, the 30-second videos, no music, just painters spraying the siding and listening to the beautiful Colorado sounds around it. And so I have someone who now handles our Facebook organic, and every week I ask her, okay, what's working really well, give it to me. And then our highest performing organic ones, I send them to my Facebook people and tell them to turn them into ads, and it's been working really well. And so that's like critical thing that we're now testing, and it seems like it's just like, here we
Wow.
go, you know.
That's awesome.
It is.
Yeah, that's super great. Cool.
Yeah.
Everybody listening, do that
Do
for
that,
sure.
try that. Yeah.
Do that. Do that. Do
Yes.
that. Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk kind of knows what he's talking
A
about.
little bit,
Yeah.
maybe,
A
you
little
know.
bit.
Yeah.
A little
He's
bit.
done it.
Yeah.
He's doing something out there, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so man, we're running out of time. There's a ton I'd love to. We'll have to do a part two.
I'm totally down for a part
With
two.
me.
I
Yeah,
know. If Ben and I could just
uh,
literally talk all day. Well, we do
we
talk all
could
day,
chat.
so.
We could chat forever. Yeah. So a lot of people, we're finding that a lot of people, we haven't really been marketing like National Painting Group. Like we're not, we haven't been pushing it much. But we do have, 11 painting companies that work, that we partner with, and you interact with all of them. So just tell us like what, for the listeners, like, and for me too, I mean, just your view of what it's like to work with National Painting Group, and with our partners, and kind of what is the partner maybe that like that work best with us, and that are looking for us, and that we're looking for. A lot of
Hmm.
different questions
That's a
there.
great
So
question. Yeah, no, I love that. Well, what my experience has been, and I always call myself entrepreneur light. So I'm not an entrepreneur myself, but I've been playing the game of business with some fabulous entrepreneurs for 7 years now, and really like in that conversation of what does it take to build an incredible business and take a stand in the market, bringing love and joy to business while doing it. And so, one thing I've seen is entrepreneurship can be very lonely. It can be really hard. It can be a grind. A lot of people think that it's a very grandiose, sexy thing, for better words. And when you get into the day to day, it can be really intense. And so, what I think NPG offers is people who are really serious in business also taking a stand for personal and self development as an access to just like live the most phenomenal life through entrepreneurship. Those people who are really hungry, where they want a fabulous business, but they also want to love their lives and have a completely fulfilled life that doesn't just mean 100 hours a week working. Someone who's ready to scale their business. You could easily probably just be like a one person show for years, and a lot of people love that. But if you're wanting to really grow a team, and maybe your trajectory is either working yourself out of your business or being at the top and developing people underneath you, I think that those are the people that are looking for something different in the market and don't just want to do it alone. And so through Painting Business Pro, you can really like it's the platform to develop yourself and to be a business, to be like a really successful entrepreneur, whatever that really means to you. It gives you the keys and the systems to do that and bring people on underneath you sustainably and create incredible systems. And then partnering with NPG, it's just, we're resonating at a level, we're taking a stand in the market of this is how we want to run our businesses. And so partnering with us, it's like you are resonating at that same frequency of how you want to do business. And it's community. It's not, you're still running your business, but you've got so many resources of people who can help you do that. And so you're not alone anymore. And then also, peer to peer, across the nation, being able to, have that I'm my own business, but then there's this person running their business and we can learn from each other and root for each other. And it just is like, to me, it just seems like an amazing way to scale and an amazing opportunity and way to do business.
yeah,
Yeah,
awesome, cool to hear. Yeah. Um, it's hard to be a solopreneur.
it is.
I've been
Yeah.
lucky where
So I don't want to
I've
be
never
one.
had to do that. Yeah. I love your entrepreneur light. That's
I'm
good. I'm going to
entrepreneur
use
light.
that.
Yes. I'm one step down. Yes.
I relate to you as an entrepreneur. Yeah,
Yeah.
you are very much an entrepreneur. I mean, you have so many similar traits as an entrepreneur. And you just worn so many hats, which is the trait, that's what entrepreneurs have to do
Yeah.
all the time. So yeah, good to hear. And for those listening, yeah, we're not currently taking on any new partnerships at National Painting Group. When we are going to eventually, but not right now. When we do, we'll kind of send out hey, just so you know, we're doing this thing. But yeah, like Sydney said, I think NPG just provides a lot of resources and development just to help you, first of all, so you're not alone, but also just to take away a lot of stuff that you do that isn't building your team, and marketing. Like those are like marketing and building your team are really the two fundamental things that that scale a business from 0 to 10 million the most. So you want to be, so whether, I'm not saying do this with National Painting Group. I'm just saying if you're trying to scale a business to 10 million or beyond that, like we are, you've got to focus on how can you remove the things that are not team building or marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two biggest things you got to do. It's your internal structure, your team, and your external structure, your marketing mix, which City and I have talked about for an hour now. Those are the two things you've got to be focused on. So, everything else that matters, HR, financial management, accounting, CRM management, all that stuff really matters, but you've got to try to reduce that from your plate as much as possible because it doesn't build the business like team building and marketing does.
100%.
And so
yeah,
that's what we're doing usually at MPG because we know that. But just for anyone listening, like that's what, no matter where you're at, 0, 2 million, 5 million, doesn't matter. You focus on those two pillars more than anything else. So anyway.
And getting yourself in front of, just getting yourself in front of the camera and declaring, hey, this is my business and this is what I care about and this is my community and this is what I'm going to deliver. And, just having your own unique voice because there are a lot of painting companies out there. And so it's like, how do you differentiate yourself and how are you going to find the customers that resonate with your message?
Yeah, I think it's a good place to end. I think, you mentioned that earlier, and I'm glad you brought it back up. A lot of us are afraid to get in front of the camera or don't think people really care what we have to say, or maybe don't want to see us in our face. And it's such the opposite. People, like Sydney just said, they can choose from hundreds of different painting companies in your area. And so they want to know the real, genuine, authentic you. So get yourself in front of the camera. Introduce yourself. What Sydney said earlier, come up with like, what is your offer? What is your message to your community? And start to share it. Just start to share it. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't even worry about it being good. Just start to do it. And then, like I said, iterate off of what works. But yeah, get yourself out there. Like start to share yourself, or don't. It's just going to take you a lot longer to scale.
Yes.
If you're trying to scale a residential painting company, like what's working right now, and that's been the case for over a year now, and I think it's going to continue to be the case for a while, is organic, just employee and owner faces out there in the community.
Yeah, your personal brand. It's the name of the game these days is who are you out there? And it's so essential.
Essential, yeah.
Especially if you have scarcer marketing dollars, that's the first place to start. So
yeah, exactly. Not to mention if you don't have a big old budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Sydney, thank you so much for being on. I love you.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll have to do round 2 here one of these days.
Oh, so, yeah. No, it was so much fun. I love it so much.
All right. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you found it valuable. We make these episodes in the show for you, truly. So your feedback is super valuable to us, whether it's, things you liked, things you didn't like, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Any feedback you can give us is going to be super helpful as we continue to evolve and improve the show over time. And if you want a copy of the Fast Growth Roadmap for Painting Contractors, which really simplifies the steps you take to building a business, we've got that resource for free for you. Just check the description or the bio where you're watching or listening to this episode, and you can just click and download that for free, and it should help give you a good roadmap for how to build and scale your business like the people that you're listening to on the show. So thanks for listening in. We'll see you soon.